Good morning. I'm Marianne Ahern. Welcome to City Desk. Republican Congressman from the 10th District, Mark Kirk, is here to give us an update of what is going on in our nation's capital. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
And you've been busy. You're very busy, especially on one issue of internet safety. Tell us what's going on. Explain what Second Life is and why any of us should care, and what's the latest.
Parents should be worried about one of the fastest growing websites on the planet called Second Life. It's the next level up from MySpace, a fully interactive 3D experience. Now totaling over 6 million people online. But I'm worried that they don't properly screen for children. In their own user agreement, they say adults can be in the child area, children can be in the adult area. And my staff reviewed a brief list of what's available on Second Life. Rape rooms, bondage stores, brothels, places for satanic worship, human sacrifice, toilet sex. These are things that I think are not appropriate for kids, and so I contacted Second Life to say maybe we should have some minimum standards here, but they responded by sending their $60,000 a year K Street lobby to tell me everything was okay.
And you are trying to say to the Federal Trade Commission, let's take another look at this site and try to put up some kind of provisions for those who log on.
That's right. For each new technology, when radio and TV were invented, we could have a race to the bottom where the objectification of women, teaching young boys that all of these kind of practices are somehow okay, could be allowed. But I think when we have young kids and minors, especially who could so easily lie about their age and get on Second Life, it's the wrong set of lessons to learn. And parents should be more aware of this site and what their child might see.
And there are those, though, who say, let's also give more education. What about money for educating parents and kids about the internet? Because a lot of us don't even know what Second Life is all about.
That's right. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children say that at any one time, 50,000 sexual predators are online. I think of the class president of Wheeling High School that when she took a particularly good picture when she won her election, she put it on a new MySpace page, and within 45 minutes, a predator was online trying to contact her. That shows me that he was using an automatic program to find who was registering and knew, maybe didn't know quite the rules of the road. And here's what I'm worried about. Kid comes home at 3 o'clock. The predator asks for your home address. She might provide that. By 4:30, the predator is at the front door, but both parents may be working, and so they won't be home until 5, 6 o'clock. That's not a situation that I think we should encourage.
And it's uncharted waters. I mean, there's just so much out there that parents and the teens and young kids just don't even realize where it's all headed.
And that's the biggest problem that I see. Most senators and members of Congress are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Most parents didn't have this when they were growing up. This was not part of my childhood or most of the parents that I represent, but it is part of your children's growing up. We have kids now have MySpace pages. The other day I was with a group of 10-year-olds in school, and I asked, how many of you have a MySpace page? The whole class raised their hand. Well, it's illegal for kids at 10 to have a MySpace page, but they lied about their age and did anyway. I'm worried that we've created virtual hunting grounds, and the law has changed over time to take care of new technology to protect kids. We don't have this kind of material on radio and TV. And so I think some common sense things can say, we don't want to ban this. If you're an adult, you should be able to go and do what you want. But for the protection of kids, some common sense reforms ought to take place.
And also common sense reforms, perhaps when people are talking about guns. You've been interested in gun laws, perhaps having a tougher provisions for those buying the guns. Where is that headed? You met with the mayor this week when he was in Washington?
We did. We just had one man in Lake Forest with a whole arsenal, including 50 caliber rifles discovered. But I'm worried especially about a couple of gun loopholes. We found that 4 Mississippi gun shops, 3 in Clarksdale and 1 in Tunica, provided over 300 of the crime guns used by gangs here in Chicagoland. Gangs are moving to the suburbs. There are over 2,000 documented gang members operating north of Lake Cook Road, just in the Waukegan, Lake County area. Similar problems in Aurora and Joliet. Big gangs like the Gangster Disciples number over 10,000 members and really represent international criminal empires. That's why I think the federal government should do more to help local law enforcement. That's what we were teaming up with Mayor Daley about.
And so tougher background checks? What else would be needed?
Well, number one, the federal government has resources on gang intelligence and the connections to Mexico, Central America, etc. There's one gang of particular homeland security interest in the United States. It's called Madre Salva Tercera, MS-13, that has disturbing to Middle Eastern terrorists. I think the Chicago Police Department has an outstanding gang intelligence unit, but many of these very large gangs can seek to overwhelm a local suburban police department. That's why we've started up a new gang intelligence units in the northern suburbs to really go after them. And I think the federal government needs to do more, because in North Chicago, Illinois, that I represent, the average gang shooter is in the 7th grade.
The average gang shooter in your suburbs is in the 7th grade. They
use 13 and 14-year-olds as the pawns in this, and that could represent a completely wasted life, if not an ended one.
So what is the federal government going to do? Is this just electioneer kind of, whether it's the internet or whether it's guns, those are topics that are hot buttons that folks care about. But where does it go, and you see something happening this year before you all leave the session?
I've been working on this for 4 years now because I saw the rise of the gangs in the suburbs. So new federal aid and support, intelligence. But the federal government offers one thing that the state of Illinois doesn't have, and that is the average gang criminal charged under state law does 4 to 5 years in prison and takes it as the cost of doing business. When we indict these gang members federally, minimum mandatory sentences, 20 years, going away for life, and you go to a prison that is multiple states away. It gives you unique leverage over these leaders to give up all of the other key people in their gang.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a break for just a moment, and we'll be back with more on City Desk. Bill Code. Our guest, Congressman Mark Kirk from the 10th District. Tell us as far as what's gone on here in Illinois and the legislature, which has really been chaos in the sense of the Democrats not even being able to get along. And then with you all in Washington, is there any result of this chaos in Springfield affecting the folks back home, and money that could have been lost, or we could have received more?
I think we have a bad governor, and I don't think the state government is working anymore. Most of us, Republicans and Democrats in Washington, recognize that. I teamed up with Senator Durbin and Mayor Daley yesterday, where we saw the real tangible effect of this fighting in Springfield. We teamed up 3 years ago and passed a federal transportation bill that brought more money to the state of Illinois than any other state. But you do have to come up with a local match. It's now 3 years that the state of Illinois has failed to come up with any local match. Because of gridlock in Springfield, we could lose $4 billion in already approved federal transportation funds. This money would go to other states that already have their act together and are waiting for Illinois leaders to drop the ball. And for Senator Durbin and I and Mayor Daley, we are flummoxed. As one congressman said, we need a family intervention in Springfield to make sure that we should not lose $4 billion in federal money.
It isn't all the governor, obviously, but it is the legislative leaders. Now, can you all intervene somehow?
We need to, and we need to intervene before the end of this Congress. If the new Congress and new president, as they are scheduled to, write a new transportation bill without Illinois putting up for any local match, it will be written by leaders from other states, and the great win that Illinois won 3 years ago will have been totally wasted, not because of what happened in Washington, because we all teamed up on a bipartisan level. Congresswoman Bean and I were almost tearing our hair out at this point because we see 4 major Metro projects, 4 major CTA projects, and PACE upgrades, all that will not happen because the governor and the team in Springfield cannot come up with a local match.
Tell us also what's going on as far as the mood in Washington and whether or not the Republicans, are you aching to get to see Senator Obama as the nominee, and how will that affect perhaps even your own reelection efforts?
We expect that Senator Obama has now clinched the nomination, so this will be a battle between John McCain and Barack Obama. The one thing that we know is for sure is conventional wisdom in 2008 is always wrong. We knew that Senator Clinton was the next president of the United States, and now that's clear that that won't happen. Even 6 months ago, we knew that John McCain would definitely not be the Republican nominee, and he is. And we knew that 3 months ago, maybe, Barack Obama would walk into the White House, but he has not had a good 3 months. And so I think if anyone tells you they know who's going to win, I think they're lying, because the conventional wisdom has been so wrong.
But look what happened in even Denny Hastert's district. He was not able to see a Republican win again. How might it affect your race? Would the Obama coattails be long ones? And your opponent, Dan Seals, who ran before, came fairly close in the last election.
Yeah, I mean, I beat my opponent by 7 points in one of the worst years for Republicans ever. So very strong. Just released a poll showing us 20 points up and have 3 times the fundraising that the other team does. I shared the ballot with Barack Obama in 2004. 72% of my constituents voted for him. 65% of my constituents have voted for me. I think the Obama vote will be less this time because we know a lot more about him. And running against Alan Keyes, Obama will run away with a victory. Running against John McCain, it's going to be a very different story.
And yet, do you see you can't imagine that Illinois would go Republican, can you?
No, here's a bit of conventional wisdom, which may be wrong, that I think that there's not going to be much campaigning in Arizona by the Democrats, and not much campaigning by the Republicans in Illinois. Although Illinois is important because it's a fundraising base for sides. And so we'll see both candidates in Chicago and the region raising money.
How much do you see issues like the economy affecting this race coming up?
It's the number one. It's the number one issue, and I think we can look at short-term things like Senator Clinton and Senator McCain looked at tax relief, and we do see that in Cook County, President Stroger has now raised taxes so much that we are the highest tax metropolitan area in the world. One of the villages that I represent, Palatine, wants to secede from Cook County over taxes. But I think we ought to look at long-term solutions. Obviously, alternative energy vehicles, moving to the hydrogen fuel cell, and then short-term things like I think we should offer a full tax deductibility to employers that offer transit benefits to their employees. We have seen the price of gas go up, but ridership on Metra and the CTA not yet go up. And we can think of ways to encourage more people on Metra and the CTA that will dramatically lower their family transportation bill.
And what about the war? We don't hear much talk of the war. You have an interesting perspective as a member of the U.S. Naval Reserves. Where is the war headed? Where do you stand?
It's generally better off than it was. What happened in Iraq is the Sunni community switched sides and largely supports the government now. And now we're seeing a struggle for power on the Shiite side. But the Kurds always in complete alliance with the United States and the local government there. I'm the only member of Congress, along with one other, that still serves in the military, one weekend a month. It's given me a unique perspective. I think it's time to wrap this mission up, to bring 1 brigade a month home, to turn over key areas to the Iraqi government. They're not the Vienna choir boys, but we need to make those hard choices because 90% of the mission that remains is a political one that only Iraqis can solve. But we ought to wrap it up in a careful way that makes sure of one key thing, that we have to go back. 2 in Iraq are enough. And I think as we wrap this up, we wrap it up in a way that we don't ever have to return.
Well, Congressman Kirk, we appreciate your time today. There's so many issues to talk about. I hope we get to talk to you again before your election as well in November.
Thank you for having me.
And to all of you watching today's City Desk, have a very good Sunday.